those who are listening in to your POA board meeting. We're still operating under COVID-19 protocols as we have in the past, and we have one board member attending the meeting remotely. As we continue to live stream meetings, each one comes with a little different experience, as I'm sure all of you know. We're learning as we go. At the last meeting, many of you noted that it was difficult to hear everyone in the meeting room or those attending remotely. We are working with the new sound equipment today, and so hopefully that issue will be behind us. Before we get started in earnest, I want to recognize a couple of individuals that have given significant service to the village and the board. Our CEO, Winston Blazer, celebrated his 27th anniversary with Tellico Village yesterday. Thanks for your service, Winston. And happy birthday to our POA attorney, Kevin Stevens. And I could embarrass you by making you tell the whole world what your age is, but I'll continue to work on opening the village back up even though we haven't met in formal session. And part of the requirement of being able to do that is that when we do meet in formal session, we have to ratify the electronic votes that we took while we were not meeting in formal session. So there's a series of decisions that we made that I'm going to ask for a motion on. The first one is to ratify the May 27th, 2020 electronic vote to accept the golf expansion plan by a vote of 6-0 with one member not voting. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? Still 6-0. The second one is to ratify the May 28th, 2020 electronic vote to accept the Recreation Department expansion plan by a vote of 7-0. Do I have that motion? Motion. Second.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? The third one is to ratify the May 30th, 2020 electronic vote to accept the plan to reopen the Blue Heron Restaurant at the Tellico Village Yacht Club by a vote of 6 in favor and 1 against, Steve Snyder voting against. Do I have that motion?
Motion.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? Okay, that brings us to the audit report. So Steve, this is you and Parker.
Yeah, I'm going to turn it over to Parker to introduce the auditors concerning the 2019 financial audit.
Okay, thank you, Steve. First off, for the board, a copy of the final draft of the audited financial statements is in your board packets. The audit committee met via Zoom with the audit team, who's joining us today via Zoom, Todd Harms and Josh Vihek, and they'll make some comments regarding the audited financial statements. So the audit committee met via Zoom with the audit team. The audit committee requested various changes to the earlier drafts. Those changes mainly were aimed at adding some more detail to the financial statements in the interest of transparency and more complete disclosure. And the team, I'll say, was both timely and responsive to those requests. And from where I sit, I think we have a good product. The audit committee, which consisted of Steve Snyder as chair, Bruce Johnson, Marty Encrott, and Bob Coates, voted to approve the draft statements as they stand now, voted to approve those unanimously, and to recommend to the full board that the board vote its approval to issue those financial statements as of today's date. So that's the order of business that we'll seek to follow following comments from the audit team. And with that said, I'd like to ask Todd Harms and Josh Vihek to comment as appropriate on the financial statements.
All right, thank you for the introduction, Parker. First of all, we appreciate the efforts that Parker, Kevin, and Jessica and the whole accounting team did to get this audit to this process. There's a lot of questions and a lot of work that's done on their part, so I want to express our appreciation for you for the hard work, because we couldn't get here with this finished product without that. Also, thank you to the audit committee. We had a very healthy discussion about disclosures and items that are presented in the financials, and we appreciate their input. So, as Parker mentioned, we've met with the audit committee and reviewed the results, and they have gotten comfortable with the audit results and the report as it stands. So for your benefit today, I will just highlight a couple of different things, and if there's any questions that are available that you have on the financials, we are here to answer those at this point in time. The draft financials that you have in your packet on page 1 include an audit opinion. The goal that you're seeking with that audit opinion is to have a clean audit opinion. I'm happy to report that the audit opinion that is presented in your packet is a clean audit opinion. Page 2 has the consolidated balance sheets, and you'll see an increase in total assets and from 30.4 million to 32.9 million. The reason for that increase is largely due to the construction of the clubhouses. If you turn to page 4, which is a consolidated statements of revenue, expenses, and changes in members' equity, you will see the excess of revenue over expenses is 1.3 million in 2019 compared to a small loss of 32,000 in the prior year. One other thing to call your attention to that's different in this year's audit is there was a new accounting standard to be implemented in the current year. This audit standard related to how revenue was recognized for the association. So on bottom of page 7, it talks about how membership assessments revenues are being recognized. And as well, that goes on to page 8, which talks about other service revenues, which includes golf courses, water and sewer services, utility installations, recreation and beach, dock and recreational storage. So it has a full disclosure of those items there. So those are the significant items that are new or different in this year's audit. And we present that back to the audit committee and for the whole committee to see if you have any questions on those financials.
Any questions? Steve, any comment?
Oh, I'll comment, no questions. Yeah, the main change on the financials that I would highlight deal with this revenue recognition. So when you look at the balance sheet, we used to have an account called deferred revenues, which accounted for all the prepayments of golf fees, rec fees, etc. That terminology has now changed over to contract liabilities under the new standard. But the biggest impact you'll notice if you compare this year's statements to last and look at the income statement from 2018's audited statements to 2019, you'll see there's a change in how much was claimed for bad debt expense. And that's because, and correct me if I'm wrong, Todd, in previous years, I'll call it, there used to be a gross accounting for revenues and bad debts. You booked revenue even though it was highly unlikely you're going to receive revenue for that assessment based upon past experience. The new standard says you don't book revenue and bad debt expense on the total. You book revenue based upon what you're reasonably going to assume you will collect. So what happens is your booking of revenues go down by the same amount as your bad debt expense goes down in your financial statements because you book it based upon what you expect to receive versus what you totally bill out. So those are the two main changes. All the other questions and additional disclosures have been included in the financial statements. I want to thank the team, Parker and his group, for excellent year in the financial world. And thank you, Todd and Josh, for the audit. And then if there are any questions from the board with regard to what they've seen in the footnotes or the financial statements.
Are there any questions from the board? Okay, I need a motion to accept the 2019 audit report as delivered by Culture and Justice and
So moved.
recommended by the TVPOA Audit Committee.
Second.
So moved.
Did I get a second?
Yeah, I heard you second.
Okay, I'm sorry. There being no further questions, all in favor? 7-0. Thank you. Great.
Rick, I have one other question.
Okay.
We still need to receive the signed management letter, so I'm assuming those will be coming now that it's been approved by the board.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Parker.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that, Parker, we're gonna step off the call unless you want us to stick around for any reason.
That's fine, thank you. Thanks for zooming.
All right, thank you.
Okay, the next agenda topic is COVID-19 operations. And I'm going to go through a review of the things that we've been dealing with since the start of this way back at the middle of March. And this is basically an updated version of what appeared in last week's telegram. And it's designed to make sure everybody understands the challenges that we've faced as a village. So, since the beginning of the COVID-19 crisis, the village has been forced to operate under stringent state-imposed guidelines. To operate outside of these rules would risk state-mandated closure of our non-compliant facilities and could cause significant legal liability. As we have been reopening our amenities, these rules have impacted our ability to return to normal operations. The state controls the health departments in 89 of Tennessee's 95 counties. The other 6, all in large metropolitan areas, have their own health departments and are therefore able to set their own rules. Loudoun and Monroe County fall under the jurisdiction of the state and are, as a result, subject to the rules and guidance issued by the state. These rules that govern us are not the same as Knox County or Knoxville. During the past 2 months, actually 2+ months, the state has issued numerous changes to their guidance. Tellico Village is operating currently under 9 separate sets of facility guidance and nearly 40 executive orders. The guidelines are facility specific and are not necessarily consistent with each other. For instance, the questions that you have to answer to go into a facility differ by facility type. Often new guidance is issued without notice and is hidden in the old guidance, making it difficult for us to stay current. When executive orders are issued, they are effective at midnight. However, they are not published on the state's website until around 5 p.m. the next afternoon. As a result, we are consistently in catch-up mode, especially when an order is issued on a Friday. The last significant state action occurred last Friday when some of the present orders expired. Rules pertaining to social distancing and social/recreational groupings have not changed in any significant way. Here are a few of the rules that have resulted in the present operating protocols here in the village. Facilities must operate on a schedule that accommodates overnight cleaning and sanitation. All facilities must have dedicated POA personnel to monitor distance and clean during hours of operations. Only staffed facilities may operate. Face covering should be used at all venues where distancing is difficult to maintain and for racket sport participants that are waiting for their court time. The recently issued rule regarding groups of up to 50 applies to large gatherings like festivals, parades, fairs, amusement parks, sporting events, and the like. It does not change the requirements for recreational and social groupings. Locker rooms and showers are not allowed to be open. Gyms are not allowed to have formal or informal team sports such as basketball or similar activities. Pools should only be used for lap swimming and aquatic exercise classes with 6-foot distancing and no lane sharing. Playgrounds must remain closed. Fitness classes cannot exceed 50% of capacity, including the instructor, and must be set up to maintain 6 feet between participants. The 6-foot distancing rules require that some equipment be moved or roped off. All persons entering a facility must be screened. Obviously, these new rules have presented significant issues with properly staffing our facilities, especially in light of the requirement for dedicated facility monitors. Further exacerbating the situation are the provisions of the CARES Act. Employees can avail themselves of more liberal time off from work rules. Often these decisions are driven by the fact that the employee has an at-risk or is in an at-risk category, or there is an at-risk person in the employee's household. Hiring extra employees on a temporary basis has been a challenge. Under the Act, persons who are collecting unemployment are also getting a $600 supplement. In many cases, this means that they are receiving benefits that exceed the pay for the job in question. While it is hard to predict, it is likely that many of the rules that we are presently operating under may be relaxed over the coming weeks. We will change our protocols as fast as we can following the publication of the new rules. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Winston.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd also like to thank Rick for staying on top of the 38 different executive orders that the governor has issued and reading them thoroughly and helping us vet out what apply to us and keeping this very strange and unusual situation pulled together. First, I'm going to report on Public Works, then Golf, and then Admin, then I'm going to turn it over to Betsy to report on her departments. Public Works is pretty much back to normal, fully staffed up. They are a little behind in brush pickup, and things are relatively normal as far as property owners are concerned and the operations are concerned. In the golf world, they have been into a couple of days of what is referred to as their Phase 2 operation. According to Chris Sykes, those carts. First, with the golf carts, the solo carts are now being allowed to go double. The golf world has manufactured some screening to go between Rider 1 and Rider 2, but they still make available solo carts, but they are with an additional charge for those that want to go solo. By doubling up in the carts and going back to normal operation with cart operations, they have increased our tee time availability. With solo carts, we were on 10-minute intervals. Now they've gone back to their staggered 8 and 9-minute intervals. This is 50 additional tee times per course. With that, it'd be 180 to 200 additional players. And with that is additional revenue to the golf operation, somewhere around $7,500 to $8,000, depending on the type play that those tee times generate. So that's been a big change in the golf world as far as the carts are concerned. Golf shops are now in operation as far as being open to the public. The only difference now versus pre-COVID-19 days is the entrance and exit from the shops. For example, you go in through the front door and exit out the pro shop doors because of government guidelines and CDC requirements and so forth. So that's been the change, but it's a welcome relief to have people back in the pro shops. And from what I understand in today's email, there's a sale going on with merchandise in the pro shops. In admin, the admin office is fully operational. The lobbies are open. We have noticed less traffic in the POA lobbies. Most people are availing themselves to the drop boxes located just outside the door. When we do have meetings in the admin conference rooms, we maintain 6-foot spacing and adhere to proper guidelines there. And everything is pretty much back to normal in the admin operation from that standpoint. Mitzi, you're up.
Thank you. Winston?
Before.
Oh, sorry.
So, if I might, oh, pardon me, if I might clear up something here. We talked earlier this morning about the $5 and the $10 rate,
Yes.
correct? Okay. And so just to get a little more clarification on that. The background is we went to the single rider rate so that we could keep the process of golfing and give the property owners an opportunity to go out, have an outside activity, met the governor's guidelines, and off we go. Been a great relief to the property owners, whether you're a golfer or not, to be able to get out and play, and the results show that. But other than that, we, the golfers, myself included, and the other people on this board that play golf, have really enjoyed the convenience of being in a single rider golf cart. But we cannot realistically sustain that, and golfers understand that, is that we don't have the fleet. In order to double the fleet, you're talking lots and lots of money. And so we need to get the culture back to double rider golf carts when the golfer is comfortable doing that. And we then put the barriers in for those that are borderline comfortable. For those that want a single cart, we have implemented a surcharge fee of $5 for 9 holes, $10 for 18 holes. And I want to clarify, there are multiple scenarios where people pay to play golf, and one is a rack rate, one is a property owner rate, one is a guest rate, one is a prepaid rate, one is a unlimited rate, and then you have unlimited and prepaid carts for families and individuals. So there's lots of things there. So the issue becomes, if I'm unlimited and unlimited cart, do I have to pay that $5, that $10 rate?
No. If you're unlimited,
If I'm an unlimited cart and.
yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do. And the reason is to free up the carts, unless you want to. And then there's that surcharge. Okay. If you're a family unlimited cart user and I own the cart, let's say I live at Tenasseee and I own a cart, and I then pay the $10 surcharge still,
If it's your cart, no.
all right? And if there's 4 in the group and 2 are in one cart and one says I'll ride with somebody, but I say I don't want a rider, then that means I'm subject to the $10 fee. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So now let's go to the very last one. The last one is I'm unlimited, I'm family, I own a cart at Tenasseee, but I'm playing at Tokwa. And again, I want to ride a cart by myself. I'm being outside in this wonderful weather, and we, as a community of property owners, all of us, those listening and those in this room and all the advisory, we cannot sustain this golf operation by having the first wave go out and take single carts, and then nobody plays after that because they want a cart, and we're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars by doing that. So, and again, it's a comfort level. If you want to, by all means. Okay, yeah, but I'll write it up for you.
I appreciate that, that's
All
great.
right.
Okay, Missy, I think it's your turn.
Okay. I'd like to give you an update on the Welcome Center. First of all, Beth will be reporting to you momentarily, and we'll have much more detail than what I'm about to provide. But as Winston mentioned earlier, there's less traffic in the admin building right now. It's quite the opposite at the Welcome Center. We've actually had a few property owners beginning this week, the 1st of June, start giving the discovery tours again. We've got a lot of prospect planning going on, visitations coming up this summer and this fall. Since Memorial Day, we have had an uptick in the walk-ins, and for the month of May, we had a total of 41 walk-ins, 25 of which came from Memorial Day weekend through the end of the month of May. So as I said earlier, Beth will give you a little more details regarding what's going on in marketing and public relations in just a little while during the meeting. We'll go right into the recreation department. Rick mentioned earlier, a lot of this has been in a telegram, but we would like to just reiterate the changes that have taken place. As of Monday, June 1st, the outdoor pool at the Chota Recreation Center was open. Reservation times are available in 45-minute increments, and they are only available for lane exercise and fitness classes. There is actually no open swim at this time. The reservations will begin on the half hour. The maximum capacity for all fitness classes has been increased to 25 participants. On June the 2nd, the Recreation Department has implemented additional changes. One of the biggest changes would be our new hours of operation. Those hours at the Welcome Center, which are indefinite, actually begin Monday through Friday at 5:30 in the morning, and they close at 7 p.m. Saturday is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Sunday is 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. At the Chota Recreation Center, these hours are actually temporary hours of operation, and they will be reevaluating them later on into the season. But currently, those are Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sunday is 12 noon until 5 p.m. And at this time, the meeting rooms remain closed. Pickleball has 2-hour increments. Tennis has also 2-hour increments. And we've actually moved to an online reservation plan. I know that many of you have used that platform, and we've received quite a bit of positive feedback regarding the online reservations. The Kahiti pool opened today at 8 a.m. It is probably closed by now, though we're going to close at noon. And the Kahiti exercise room opened today, and that is also from 8 to noon. And these hours are based on staffing and usage. Next week, when the water classes are added, we will look at opening the community center for a little while longer, as long as we have the staff to provide the classes. But again, that's exercise classes only at the Kahiti Community Center. So if you all want to move on, we'll go into food service if nobody has any questions on recreation. Overall, with the food service operation, we're off to a very good start. AWE has been able to obtain most of the staffing back, and then has hired some new folks due to some people choosing not to come back after this COVID. The business at Tokwa has been good, and Tanasi has been great, according to Andy. Last night, the yacht club actually opened up, and they had 60 for dinner, so that was a great success. He was very excited about that. Most folks have been very appreciative that we're open and keeping things safe. Andy has had to deal with some of the food challenges and the shortages, but we're constantly changing the menu up in order to accommodate for those shortages. The prices have supposedly spiked at this point and should hopefully start to come back down. We are beginning to see some of the supplies come back on the shelves whenever we're going to the food service vendors. We are able to get some things that were out temporarily. Andy also made some big purchases a few weeks ago to get ahead of the curve because he knew that these food shortages would be coming. At Kahiti, I wanted to say that pretty much things have remained steady there. Did get a text earlier just while we were in the lunch earlier, and the Kahiti inspection came back at 100 today. The health inspector came out there, so that was good. But at this time, again, the meeting rooms are closed here at the yacht club just because of staffing. We need to be able to sanitize after meetings and things of that nature, so we will continue to watch the guidelines, see what we can do to accommodate committees and groups as they are, I think, chomping at the bit, wanting to get back into the facilities and get together. So we'll keep an eye on that.
I would only add to that the distancing rules make it difficult for club meetings.
Absolutely. So that wraps up the COVID update for me. If you all have any questions at this time, we'll take those.
Any questions for Winston or?
I have a question for you.
Go for it.
Okay, two-part question. If we don't follow the guidelines because of reasons such as staffing or property owner request or whatever, what would happen?
What would happen?
Yeah.
Well, worst case scenario is somebody complains that we're not following them. The state comes in and closes down the venue.
So what happens is the state can close down the venue?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And oh, by the way, if it's egregious enough, that person could sue us for not following state rules.
Well, I was reading this morning, it was just a highlight thing I ran across, the number of ministers, fathers, mothers that have been arrested in parks all over the place, church services broken up. Here's my next question that follows up the first one. So now I know what's gonna happen, we can get shut down. Do we have property owners monitoring and reporting non-compliance issues?
I get letters all the time,
As
and
do I.
phone calls,
As
and
do I.
emails.
And Winston and the staff, you as well? Okay. So, my point is, as Rick said, there are 6 counties that are under a different guideline than we are.
That's correct.
Unfortunately, we're sitting right next to the county that's got all the news feeds. And we aren't that county, so ours are different. And if we don't follow the 89 counties, is that it? 89 county recommendations from the state, then we can be shut down. And believe me, people are watching, they're taking photographs, and they're
Yes,
reporting.
they are.
So, I wanna make sure that we all understand that.
And Pat, it's even more than that. If we go back to where this all started, we as a board said we would follow the state guidelines.
Correct.
You know, because that was the safest alternative for us to protect the at-risk population here in Tellico Village.
Well, then that brings up a third question that I have not.
Oh, I didn't want to have a third question.
Yeah, I know. And you're gonna pick on me for the rest of my life because I asked you the third question. But, now you made me forget my third question. Well, say again what you were talking about, because that's what generated my third question.
Protecting that. Yeah, we as a board said that we would strictly adhere to the state guidelines, because number one, that's the legal thing to do.
God,
And number
it
two,
just came back.
we have an at-risk population here in the village.
It just came back. So Winston and Mitzi and Beth and Kevin and Parker and Shannon and I can't see everybody back in the corner there.
Don't pay attention to the people behind the curtain.
Was life in Tellico Village easier to maintain pre-COVID or post-COVID?
Pre,
No doubt about it, folks.
much.
Yeah, these are all the executive orders. These are all the guidelines that we have to follow. And they change all the time.
Right. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you for your questions. Any other questions? Okay, with that, Beth Kuberka is going to present the Q1 marketing report finally.
Finally, a little delayed. All right, we're gonna jump right in.
We had good excuses.
Yes. Because of the timing, I'm going to cover Q1, which was pre-COVID, and then we're gonna talk about the impact of COVID, which is basically the last week of March and into April. We have a revised 2020 strategic plan that we're gonna outline, and then some overall discussion and conclusions. All right. So like I said, this is first quarter. So first quarter, we have our database leads are up 9%. 30% of that is due to digital leads. Magazine leads were up 24%. Trade show leads, where I travel to different areas and we meet people face to face, were up 9%. And then miscellaneous leads were actually down 17%. Most of that is due primarily to weak welcome center traffic the last 2 weeks of March, which also was the start of COVID. Home and lot sales are 97, which is up 17%. You can see the breakdown from home and lot. Surprising enough, lot is up 41%, and a lot of that is due to supply and demand. There's not a lot of homes on the market in Tellico Village, and the ones that are on the market get sold really quickly. Marketing leads that we, or sales that we can actually track back to the program are 71, which is up 34% versus last year, and equals about 73% of total MLS sales. Like you see, lot sales is up tremendously, 59%. And then just a diagram to show you that as we went on from the beginning of the marketing program to first quarter 2020, 73% of total MLS sales can track back to the marketing program. Now this is a little bit of an anomaly in the first quarter. As you can see, 2020 price per square foot, which is what we use to look at property values, is down to 140.24, down 8%. But we're going to follow this really closely, and you'll actually see in April how that makes a change already. So 31 POA lots sold, which is up 15% over last year, plus 35 lots. As of this morning, I had 81 lots on the books, so even better than that already. And then when we look at marketing revenue versus cost, total marketing revenue so far through quarter one, $149,505, $142,935. This is the first solid quarter. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different because of COVID, but database leads, MLS, program sales, MLS sales are all increased significantly. Property values are somewhat lower, but we are following that really close. All-in basis program return a net investment of $142,935, which is a 96% positive ROI. However, masked by COVID, which we're going to talk about in just a second. So now let's talk about the impacts of COVID. There we go. So let's look at April, because that's pretty much the whole month that was actually affected by the COVID. 28 homes and lots total sold on MLS, which is down quite a bit. You can see that homes still went ahead and closed, but a lot of those were already in the hopper from the first quarter. People who were just waiting to close already had a contract on their home. Where lot sales took a dive at about 56%. April POA lot sales also was down slightly with only 7 lot sales, which is pretty good considering we didn't have anybody actually coming into the facility. But if you look at April property values, you see that we've already recovered 6%, up to $162.92 price per square foot. Like I said, we're going to be following this very closely as we move into Q2 and for the rest of the year.
That's really fun.
Our leads are down 34%, 358 leads in the month of April. Web leads are down, but other digital leads are up. Part of that is Real Estate Scorecard, which is one of our digital partners, actually gave us some leads that had kind of been missing from the bucket. So we got those, so that's kind of an add-on. Magazine leads, you can see, are way, way down, 92%. I'll explain that in just one second. Trade show leads, there is no show in April, but we had one lead, someone who came in later on. And then miscellaneous leads are down 58%, and those are mostly walk-in leads, and we were closed. So April database lead performance, the decline can be explained as follows. Miscellaneous program leads are all reliant on the Welcome Center walk-in traffic, and we were really closed besides the drive-through, which we had a few people come in. Magazine leads, the 92% is because Where to Retire discontinued publication. So they are no longer, the issue that went out in April was one that was already in the books, but they do not plan on releasing another issue for the rest of the year. Which is pretty sad for them. It was a good publication. We had no trade shows because there was none planned. Other digital performance is up 155% because we stayed in the digital market during COVID in order to capture the leads as people were still looking. They didn't have anything else to do, right? They were stuck at home. So they were still looking at, still dreaming of retirement. Where are we going to go? So you saw we had a good increase by staying in the market. Web leads were down 33%, and that's mostly organic traffic, which is non-paid, but paid did really well, up 155%. Just a little diagram showing organic conversion rates. You can see that we made a pretty good gain in the month of April. Discovery performance. Well, there wasn't really a discovery program in the month of April because of all the reasons we've already said. So you can see we had 9 requests versus 62 last year. April's normally a great month for us. We did no visits in the month of April this year. Once again, however, signs of life are emerging, as Mitzi said. We've had 18 discovery requests the 3 weeks prior to the end of May, equals 80% more than the entire 45-day period before. So life is emerging, and Memorial Day was kind of the floodgates. I think from Memorial Day to the end of May, we had a huge jump in traffic in the Welcome Center. So Ideal Living during COVID did a survey, and they actually had 3,000 people respond. And this is the response to that survey: is that 59% of the people changed their timeline slightly for relocation. 54% say that they are still going to move eventually. And there's the top factors. Most states that we're interested in, you can see Tennessee shows up 29%. But 63% of those people need to sell their home prior to purchasing. So it's really important that as they open up, those people will be able to exit that market. So since March, the program was hurt most definitely by the COVID virus. The database leads were down. There was basically no discovery program at all, and the real estate market took a hit. In talking to some of the brokers, they're estimating about a 25 to 30% decline for the year. Unless something changes. Our organic search and discovery data reflects an increase in confidence over the last couple of weeks, and we most definitely have the experience and knowledge and tools to influence the fate of Telka Village's real estate market for the rest of 2020 and beyond. So now I'm going to share with you the strategic plan that we've come up with in just the last few weeks. And the objective is to maximize the bottom line of Telka Village's real estate and property values during the rest of 2020, and to place Telka Village in the strongest possible competitive position as we move into 2021 and beyond. We've expanded the monitoring. Normally we would do a monthly look at the database and kind of where everything's coming from, and we're actually doing that on a weekly basis now. Fred has taken that on. He loves to crunch numbers, and we love that Fred loves to crunch numbers. Joe and I are more than happy to let Fred handle that. And so weekly, he gets stuff from Tombers, our advertising agency, and he is on top of it. So any small change, we can act accordingly. Also, we want to ensure that all programs contain no time-specific messaging. That way we have the opportunity to make adjustments as we're in the flow of things. We want to continue utilizing digital media to build awareness for Telka Village and to generate high-quality leads in real time. Also, we want to develop and launch a new enhanced website, which will significantly upgrade Telka Village's communication and conversion platform. This is actually something that we started last year in Q4 and was planned to actually launch at the end of Q1, but the timing with COVID just wasn't right. So now we've built a program to launch a new website, which is going to really help set us apart. It's just a coincidence. This is a new marketing website, some screenshots from that, the home page, and then one of the pages. We're doing some updates now, but when we get a little bit further, we'll send it to the board first for you all to preview before it actually goes live. But we're very pleased so far with the progress and how great it looks. So to continue on the strategies, we're in the process of developing a marketing program to be executed on a timely basis in order to handle and overcome the marketing conditions that we've recently received with the Welcome Center, no traffic, and those type of things. We're going to be re-energizing about 18,000 leads that are in the database from 2016 to current by doing a multi-frequency email program, and also going into the SEO into certain geographical areas where we've had great leads from the past, and re-energizing those markets, putting a little bit more money into those segments. Also, just to broaden geographical awareness by an 8-week PR and social media campaign, which will overall support the whole initiative of this new strategy. This is being funded by monies that we already have budgeted, social media and PR funds, and also taking the where to retire monies that we will no longer be spending on that publication and re-putting them back into digital, which is up 155%. Because we will be missing a lot of leads from the publication. And I know you can't really read this really well, but this is just kind of a timeline as we've been building the plan in May and to start the plan in June, running through September, and we will adjust that as needed based on what's going on in the market. So this strategic plan is a combination of the marketing team, which utilizes the experience of both Fred, Joe, Carla, Tom Lee, and the advertising agency all went together to form this in order to strengthen and leverage the core marketing components of the brand by the village in the strongest possible competitive position on a short and long-term basis. So the country is very different, obviously, than it was even just 75 days ago. We went from the strongest economy in history to one of the weakest. Unemployment is currently 14.7%, and we went from the longest prosperity in history to a deep recession with all kinds of shape words that Fred put in there. But we can't speculate about recovery, although we are seeing very positive signs that that's going to happen. You know, it's been all over the place with what COVID's going to do and what the numbers are going to be. And all that we know is people all over the country are really tired of being stuck at home. They're ready to get out. They want to get their dreams back on track and ultimately get to retirement. And we want Tellico Village to be one of the places they consider for that by following this strategic plan. We can't even begin to try to guesstimate what it's going to happen in the market. All we can do is tell you that we have the best plan developed to maximize Tellico Village's position in the market by being present, strong, flexible, able to change on a moment's notice, and that we are monitoring it in real time. Every single week we're looking at the numbers. This presentation outlines that plan for the marketing team and the agency, that we plan to accomplish this goal, and that we will continue to keep you all updated as we move forward. And then now I will take questions.
Questions for Beth?
Oh, dang it.
So, Beth, back on a prior slide, you talked about the second quarter is projected to be brutal and a very weak third quarter. Is that in terms of supply or demand, or both?
I think that's from the real estate's perspective. That was from real estate brokers.
So just turnover.
It's both. Like, there's not a whole lot even coming on the market. I talked to Katrina Foster last week, and she said that she actually has quite a few about to come on the market. And so it is a little bit of supply and demand. I think more of the problem is we're still seeing a high uptick in lot sales, but you don't have, builders can't get started. So it's kind of a double edge, you know, what's going on.
They can't get started because they're already too busy.
They're already too busy.
Yeah, they've already booked all the stuff they're gonna do this year.
Yep. Yep. So I think, you know, May numbers are not in fully yet. We're just starting to compile those. So it'll be interesting. There was 23 homes, I think, hit MLS in May, which is going to be a lot less than last year, but probably a lot more than what they estimated in April that May would have done. But once I get those numbers next week, I'll share them with the board, just to keep you updated.
Other questions for Beth? Okay,
All
thank you,
right,
Beth.
thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
Clean up. Okay. Clean up time.
He was at the bottom of the stairs.
Do you need help up the stairs?
Yeah. Well, this is on the presentation. Yep, and there he is. Yes.
Got the message. Good afternoon, y'all. All right, I'm ready. Go ahead and start with the slideshow. Next one. I'm just giving y'all here an example of some of the ways we're tracking things since we started all this. Just again, just a sample. It's where we know now that we set up all these systems. This was based on the 10 people. We just changed that to 25 this week. Just to get an idea of how many people are filling up the classes and what times and whatnot, so we can organize things. We can keep rolling through. So look at our wellness classes next. The exercise room, that's something else that we book And how many people are coming at what time? Is it capacity at this point?
I assume that those.
Talk closer to the mic.
Those things after 12 p.m. are supposed to be PMs too?
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
it should be a PM.
no problem.
Next. Same on the pickleball courts, this gives an idea what kind of uses we're actually having. That's one thing for people to say, it was another, so we track everything. Next.
Well, excuse me, I know you're blowing through these, and I appreciate that, because we all get to go
Yeah, go
home.
back one slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, this is just the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
couple of weeks
yeah,
we've been
you
going.
can start there.
Okay.
And I'm not particularly looking at the percentage breakdown in terms of that number. I'm looking at it in terms of the time. 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the morning, you're generating all your business early in the morning, and waning towards mid-afternoon, it jumps up a little bit, but the 3 p.m. is only the same about the 10 and the 9. So those three blocks, 8, 9, and 10, 82, 36, 42, 71, 49, 36. I just read an update on your proposed hours changes.
Yes.
That's why you're changing to earlier starting?
Oh, in general, for everything that we use there at the Wellness Center, people really want to come in early. If you go at 6 o'clock in the morning, people are scratching the door all the way
I
through.
go even to pickleball on the next slide, that slide.
Yeah, typically pickleball starts at 6 in the morning,
Wow.
and that's really busy. Tennis starts a little bit later. They come about 8:30, 9 o'clock when we're regularly operating.
They just can't sleep.
Yeah, they're like me, so now I need to take up pickleball, right?
So like the Wellness Center at 6 o'clock in the morning, I got people ready to come in and work out, and that's what a lot of people want to do. It's just slammed in the mornings. So, but in the evenings after 7 o'clock, it's crickets. And we look at the data, and we're like, there's people just not coming. Even we have some folks say, well, we work, we want to come, and I understand that, but the reality is people don't. There's not that many folks there, and we're staffing it to 7 p.m. versus 5, because at 5 o'clock on a Saturday, we're having to tell people we got to close.
Okay.
So we're doing it based on, and this is the time to do it when we've changed everything that we've done because of COVID. This is the time to do it. This is something we looked at during strategic planning too, that at the right time we need to change our hours. Okay? And our CSI system too will track when they come in, not the pickleball court, but for our wellness center. We have tracking. Every time someone comes in the scans, we know who's coming in and when. So that's what we use to gauge it. Okay? We can fly through. And this is again when we're going from 8 to 4. And the reason you see different times is because we have to stagger them. For social distancing, people got to line up, go into your court, and the next one goes. So we have a whole routine and system for this. Next. So you can see there, people don't really get into tennis until a little bit later.
Those rackets are heavy. You gotta wake up more before you can play.
Okay, next. We also opened up CHOTA for classes. Part of it, and again, I go back, I refer to our strategic plan as using resources efficiently, is really came into play now. Okay, we got to have, people want to have classes. There's only so much we can do at the Wellness Center, so we opened up the gymnasium. We looked at doing some the rooms in there that we're not using right now. It just doesn't hold enough people. We've had good response over there as far as numbers. Next.
What's BBB?
I'm sorry.
What is BBB?
Bend, bounce. Oh gosh, I can't remember the last part of it. It's, a lot of times it's like chair exercise.
Okay.
Folks with mobility issues are helping them, and those are usually pretty packed. And there's the CHOTA tennis, same deal as far as timings. Next. And that's another reason we started that with 2 hours and pickleball with 45. Then you got Kahiti tennis. And next. Let me go back. There should be another slide in there about the new hours of operations and stuff.
Nope. Not on mine either.
Not mine either, so.
Is it further ahead? Oh, I'll just discuss that then.
Nope.
Let's just go on to that then. So what we started what we started with our new operations, and you guys understand what all we're doing is we get the governor's guidelines. Everybody goes through it, how's it work, and we delve into it. okay, how can we make this work safely and effectively with the resources that we have? Get with the rec committee, run it through and say, well, this is our plan. And then we go forward with, that's what's gonna work according to the guidelines. So this last one, people hear the guideline of, well, you can have 50 people at a time. So, well, you really can't. And our rooms based on social distancing and 6 feet, you can't. So 25 is what we had to do. So what we started this week, as of June 1st, and also trying to get our operations up as much as we possibly can. I feel like the team did an outstanding job of navigating this whole situation, putting it together, and implementing it. And that was, one of the big things was putting it online, because before people are calling in to Chota to make reservations, and that can get very frustrating. Here shortly, sometime yet, unfortunately. But that way, we do have it open, and people can book, and you have a lane. You can lap swim, you can float, you can do exercise. Do what you, and then we have increments of, this is how many lanes we got based on 6 feet. This is how you use it. So that's open every single day. We also have, for swimming, is the wellness pool. And that's also opened up at 5:30 in the morning now. So people have all day, they can book lanes. Also on that, we have classes that we offer. We have to reserve those classes as well, and it's 25 people. Locker rooms aren't open yet, but the idea is you book your time, you do your workout, and you head out. Like again, with our fitness classes, like in the gym and in the wellness center, to be spaced accordingly, we have to go to 25 participants. That goes the same. We just opened up our workout area. One of the issues that we had was trying to get people into the facility, and we can only have 9 people and have somebody watching. Now, how do you get it? I mean, we have all this equipment in there, $250,000 in equipment, and we have like 10 pieces open. So when we opened up to 25, we moved things around quite a bit. And so we don't have a walking track over there right now. It was either that or we look at other resources we have, like do I move equipment over to Chota? Do we take up some of those rooms and use that for equipment? Don't think that's a good plan at this point. So moving the track around. Some people are put out because they can't use the track, so we opened up the gymnasium for a scheduled time to walk the track. I think that pretty much covers all the activities that we got open. We started opening up the kayaking and the paddleboarding, and opened up the outdoor yoga classes and the outdoor classes that we offer. Okay? I can move forward. What I'm showing you here, this is the pre-COVID time when we had everything closed down, and what do we do effectively with the time. What we did was took time to create new trails, and there's tons of maintenance that we got to do in order to get that back up. So we had new trails and parks created during that time period that were, we went through the permitting process. And a huge shout out to Gary Molnar and the Kahidi Chain Gang. They did an incredible job up there. But this is an example. So there's trees that fall down. There's things that happen when you have all these miles of trails. So we had time to take care of it moving forward. Next slide. There's also areas that get flooded out and you got to fix. We can't just build all these trails and leave them. We got to take care of them. Next. This is a new trail we made up in Coyote to where now you come down to the lake. Next one. This is up at the Wellness Center. This is with the Public Works Department. We even have it on our capital plan to have a paid trail on the top. We're like, can we not just cut every week and cut it down and make a trail people can walk? Because during this whole close down, people need places to go. How do we exercise? How do we safely go? And we created another half mile up there, and all we do is pay for someone to, our laborers to cut it once a week. And it's got a fantastic view up there. Next. This is up in Kahidi. We're making some trails up in there on where they used to have places to walk. Next. This is an idea. These are some of the pocket parks that were made up there. Areas for people to come and get away from everything that's going to have some space. And this is one of the things I was really excited about, because at the same time we had state parks closing, county parks closing. And as Teleco Village, we had our own little private park system here that we could use. I had other professional friends call me and ask me, hey, are your parks open? Are your trails open? I was like, nope, because I don't want people coming. I don't want to have everybody, no, we're sorry, we're closed. But we don't have issues with vandalism and whatnot here where other places do. Next. And from here, and this is taking, residents are doing this. This one's right over here at, Kahee, right next to, and the person that lives right next door actually paid for the stone. And they put together the picnic tables and they're taking care of this stuff. This was snaggly old looking trees and stuff that was not useful. Now it's a nice place for people to go. Next. This is over here by Toqua Trail. There's a park that about 10, 15 years ago was maintained by a man that used to come down, and the grandkids grew up swimming there and stuff, and he passed on. And no one really picked it up. And the neighborhood came to me during the shutdown and said, hey, can we open this back up? And we did. And it's a really neat story. The granddaughter that grew up there was visiting, and she came down and took a look at the park and was thrilled that we had this here. And now we opened up. So now you have folks that have access to the lake, whereas they didn't have before. You just walk right now. Next. Okay, also in the recreation department, I want people just to think that all we have is the paid recreation facilities and memberships. We also offer kayaking. Next. And paddleboard classes for folks down at Tuggaloo Beach. Next. We also offer outdoor yoga. Next. Okay, the next part I want to move into is with Thomas Tellico and where we're at with Thomas Tellico. And I'm going to have Dan come up and talk a little bit about the Pickleplex. I'll just talk to y'all about where we're going with that. We kind of were on pause, just like a lot of folks were with foundations during this time period, and regrouping on what all we can work on. Next slide. Oh, is there another one after that? I guess you can get the new slides. Okay, let me just talk. Let me go back to that. Back to the previous one, Thomas. Yeah, okay. One of the things that we needed to do is identify some things for the IRS that we were doing for parks and community, and we established a parks and trails section of the fund specific. And I spent a lot of time making those trails and stuff during the past few months, and I felt like I wanted to be part of it, so I made a personal donation, $500. Just want to make sure people know I got skin in the game. And so I think that's important when you're doing something like that. And that's not going to happen for a while. I got 2 kids in college, so this is the time it's going to happen. We also had 2 other foundation members that put into that. And part of that was because Gary was doing all this work up in with all these trails, and people just probably funding it. So we want to have that. And that helps us with the IRS. That shows this is what things that we're working on. So moving next, I want to have Dan come up and talk about our Pickleplex.
Welcome, Dan.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dan Cataldi. I think we've met a couple times before in some previous meetings. As Simon said, we're probably 60 days of inactivity regarding the Pickleplex project as a Timeless Tellico Foundation Board. On the other hand, there's been things going on in terms of coming up with drawings, design and engineering drawings. So as we sit here today, I haven't seen the slides, so we can move to the next slide, and I'll give you an idea so we have sort of a engineering design. What we're looking for today, I'll start off with, we're looking for some approval to be able to go forward and get bids on the Pickleplex. And if you remember what we talked about, there's 2 phases, and according to this diagram, there's 3 phases. There's actually the courts, and then the roof, including lights for phase 2, and then phase 3 at some point down the road would be a pavilion if we so desire and if the board so desires. But what you see up there is the existing courts and the location of the new courts. That location was changed from the original discussion because of the Architectural Review Committee, who basically said, we think it fits better on that piece of land. We went out and scoped it, paced it, measured it off, and in fact it does. So that appears to be the best place for these courts and the best configuration for the courts rather than another block of 4. Because of the way the land falls off all the way in the back, this reduces the amount of expense for excavating. What's the next slide look like? Yeah, okay. So we also, in discussions with the Architecture Review Committee, talked about 2 different configurations. One was sort of a rounded roof with an aluminum understructure that is best exemplified by Opelika, Alabama. And there's one company that builds that. I think when we met with this board, there was some pushback in terms of that versus a more typical beam structure with a roof like this. So at this point, we've had the drawings put together with this type of structure, and we're requesting that we can go out for bid on this type of structure so we get an idea of what we're looking at for phase 1 and for phase 2.
And that original plan, so I just saw the last slide, that was, a few years back. It's already been approved by the previous board, that Jeff and I will put together, and ACC has approved this, we put this for ACC and Public Works.
Yeah, Public Works has also seen it, yep. Any questions so far? Next.
Yeah, I'm gonna have one in a minute, but you go ahead.
Okay, let's see what 3 looks like. We got another slide, Simon? Oh, yep. It's kind of an idea in terms of length, width of the structure. So if you're standing at the Wellness Center and you're looking straight back to the pickleball courts, instead of seeing the side of the court and the roof, you'll see the peak and only the peak. Less, a more aesthetic view than the original one. That was one of the concerns or questions that we had. 4 contiguous courts, all in the same direction as the existing courts. No sides, but hopefully in the engineering we can leave the potential for sliding plastic sides if we so desire down the road. We'll see what the cost of that is. Might be prohibitive, we're not sure. In terms of our committee, COVID has sort of put a damper on us thinking about asking for money, especially money out of 401ks. So we probably will not be ready to do a capital fund drive until 3rd quarter, minimally, potentially 4th quarter. We would like to be able to do it before end of year for some tax incentives and before we go forward. The pickleball committee is meeting again next week to begin to design the capital campaign, assuming we get approval to get engineering bids and so we can start talking about how much do we think this is really going to cost us. We have a ballpark right now, but Simon, what am I missing? I got it.
Time for my question?
No, I don't like your question.
Okay. I'll
What's
get back
up?
to work.
What's up?
Okay, and you covered a lot of it. My concern is that during this COVID-19, there are people that are come and go from these board meetings, whether it's televised or they actually were here. Because I believe the last time you were here, we weren't under COVID-19.
We were not.
Okay. So there are going to be a lot of people, and a lot of people have moved in since then. But I would like for you to, very high level, not a lot of detail. Somebody's going to be looking at this presentation, they're going to go, wow, new pickleball courts, the POA is going to be buying these pickleball courts, and then they're going to put a roof on it, and from what you said, I can see how they could interpret that. Right. So could you go back and just, within a couple minutes, explain how that presentation for those expanded pickleball courts came to the POA board, how these people playing pickleball went to you and your committee, and then what you guys did together with this board to gain approval, or did we kick you out?
Sure.
Okay.
To the best of my memory, and at this age is not real great, so. Yep, sure. I'll do my best to the best of my memory, but
I'll help you.
I might miss a few. So when we first put Timeless Teleco together as a not-for-profit foundation, using private philanthropy, businesses, and individuals to fund projects, the Pickleball Club got together and said, one of the things we think we need is covered courts. The reason we need covered courts is because of the elements. So the elements here cause, you could see it earlier. Middle of the day is the heat of the day, middle of the day.
We seem to be having some difficulty. We're being hacked.
I was gonna say, have we been ghosted?
Okay. So So the middle of the day is the heat of the day, and you'll see that play drops off dramatically, especially as the summer months come in because of the heat. So one of the issues for covered courts is heat. To be able,
And one of the things that I remember specifically is that our long-range plan, and supported by the long-range planning, said that the need for pickleball expansion was in 2025, was it?
Yeah, it was out in the future quite a bit.
And the players of the pickleball says, yeah, it matches our numbers too, but.
yeah.
Okay.
So many of the players said, we not only need the roof, we could use extra courts. The village is expanding, pickleball club is expanding pretty dramatically. We're going to be, our projections say over 1,000 players or 1,000 members, with an arm within the Telco Village to go out for private funding and business funding for this kind of a capital fund project.
And you're a 501c.
We are a 501c3 almost, but we have an
Okay,
we have an
closer,
agreement.
yeah.
But we have an agreement with another organization so that we can act as a 501c3 until we get our 501c3 official status, which we think will be by the third quarter. So the needs seem to be there, the desires seem to be there. This is a different analytic than typical with the POA board in that this is not about needs as much as wants. We have people who want it, people who are willing to bring dollars to the table to get it, much like the Key project. So how can we be an intermediary to make that happen? To give us more amenities and to also give a group of people, like-minded people in the village, the opportunity to have one of the amenities that they need. The idea is to build 4 courts in a phase 1, to build a roof over those courts in a phase 2, each to be completed when we have the funds to complete that phase of the project, and then to give that asset to the POA. So it becomes owned by the POA, run by the rec department and rec department rules. We just want the amenity to take care of expanded play and expanded needs. From that point, we came up with a couple of different designs that the pickleball club actually went out and found, got excited about those 2 designs, came back to this group, showed those designs, and there was preference for this over the other because of some potential maintenance and long-term stability problems that I think were identified with the other design. So we just said, well, this is at least the same amount, potentially less amount. We want a roof. So let's go get a bid on this if that's what the POA board is most interested in pursuing. We met with Public Works. We met with the Architectural Review Committee. They've both given us input, valid input. We've made adjustments to the plan. And at this point, we're ready to get cost estimates for this kind of structure, and B, put together a capital fund drive campaign to be able to tell our membership what it's going to look like. And we've already begun to infiltrate that group by saying, don't expect this to be a $50 donation. I mean, we're probably looking at $500 per person donations to make this happen. And then obviously we're also going to go after businesses to do some naming rights on behalf of Timeless Teleco or through Timeless Teleco for this project.
Perfect, thank you. Perfect.
Give you an idea? Yeah.
Questions on your request to go out for bids?
Yes.
I assume that you're needing that so that it would give you an idea as to how much you need to raise.
Correct. We have an estimate right now, but we want to confirm it.
And the second thing is usually when you go out for bids like that, these guys are looking for work, and
Well, plus the bid's time bounded.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
they're timed, and so just be careful what you get into there because.
You know what? We're going to leave that up to Simon.
No, I'm just saying, if you go out and get a bid for $500,000 and then you raise the $500,000, it turns out to be $750,000.
I hear you.
Well, yeah, here's the issue you're gonna run into. You're gonna go out and get bids right now.
Yep.
But you're not gonna be fundraising until the end of the year.
Right.
Those bids won't be, they won't be any good.
Right.
They usually have a life of 90 days.
Okay? Well, somewhere we've got to start with an estimate of what it's going to cost us to put up phase 1 and phase 2, so we have an idea of how much we need to fund.
I was just
I
making
thought we
sure.
already approved that.
Yeah, we did.
I think you did.
Yeah, we already approved the whole concept and the location.
Yeah, you just need to be clear when you go out for these bids that we're not ready to start building because we gotta do fundraising.
We understand, yeah, I'll tell them that.
Carly, do you have
I just have a question from someone who's watching online. She's asked if there's going to be air circulation if they put the cover on, and suggests needing a fan over each court at least. Is there a plan for that?
At this point, we'll leave that up to the engineers to answer. There are no sides on this structure, so it is a roof, but it's an open air base. So I can't remember, up to 9 feet or 10 feet. Each of those sides is open. So the wind's gonna blow through there. Rain may blow into it, but not enough to stop play. But it is not a completely enclosed structure. It is simply a roofed structure.
Yeah, it's more of a sun shield, right?
Sun shield,
Yeah.
maybe a rain shield. I mean, I
Yeah,
think it would work as a
okay.
rain shield. It's not a blowing storm, hard storm.
Thanks. Appreciate it very much.
I'm not sure you want to go out for formal bids. I think you want to go out for informational bids.
Okay.
You know, and tell them, look, we're just looking for ballpark. We'll come back with a formal bid proposal at the point that we are ready to build.
So, I'm the first to admit that I'm not experienced at this. My interest from Teleco's perspective and the pickleball's perspective is, give me an estimate of what you think it might cost, plus or minus X percent.
Well, we think our public works department could help you with the bid process.
Absolutely.
It's
And
just-
timing.
And again, it's just informational bids.
Yeah, and timing, and then my third issue is, show me a structure like this that you built. Doesn't have to be over pickleball courts, doesn't have to be over tennis courts, but show me that structure somewhere so I can talk to somebody that has it. So I don't want somebody that hasn't built one but says, oh, we can do that. I'm really not interested in going in that direction.
Yeah, I'm not even, I don't believe that this requires a board vote. You know, you're just going out to get information.
Yeah, no, it does not. Yeah, you're good with it. Yeah, you are.
Are we participating here or not?
Are we bothering you?
So the question is, do we need
Asking approval for anything, you're just giving us,
You're going out and getting informational bids.
Okay.
yeah.
I'm good.
Then it's up to you, and then that's Thomas Teleco and the pickleball people, and any asset of the board like Public Works or Recreation, whoever you need, be happy to help. And then you're gonna get the money, and then you're gonna say from the RFI, this is about how long it's gonna take, and then you're gonna go out and get the real bid.
No,
Well, okay, then clean me up.
I was gonna say, when it gets down to that point, they're gonna have the money, then they're gonna turn it over to POA, and the POAs, will then take action to get the bids and all.
Yeah.
They won't.
We'll run through the purchasing process.
Yes. And- Right, and then it's over. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
if
at some point, you guys will have to come back to the board for final approval. You know, here's what our information says it's gonna cost, here's, what we've raised, and since it's a POA asset, the board will have to vote.
Okay,
But you've already kind of crossed that threshold, so I wouldn't worry too much about it.
okay, great.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
No.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Let's keep our fingers crossed and make this the first major
Yeah,
project.
you're on your way. You're on your way.
Thank you, Simon, for sanitizing.
So did we have any questions come from the outside during that?
Just the one.
Okay. So, Kevin,
Last thing on Thomas Teleco is I just want to reiterate that we do have TOC. That's been our first project, which is coming to an injury assessment. And the whole time that we've been getting things started, they've been instrumental in helping us make sure we're doing things safely and accurately. And I feel like our team, not just our team, but Public Works, Golf, everybody's doing an excellent, and Food Service doing an excellent job at putting things together, mitigating this whole situation. And as we put these plans together, I hope everybody realizes we're all in this. We don't particularly want to ask all the questions and do all the restrictions. We're not having fun telling people we have to do this stuff, but work with us and be patient. As we open things up, some people are like, well, I kind of want to have this. I want to have this. And we understand that. We all do. We want to have everything back, but we can't do it just yet. So just ask that y'all have patience. Does anybody have questions for me about the rec department?
Well, and I'll just point out that when the rec committee developed the plan to expand into phase 2, which you've just done, you know, that came to the board and the board voted to approve it with no changes. That was from the rec committee and the rec department.
Y'all done with me?
He just said you did a good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks, John.
Kevin, welcome back. We like you so much that we thought we'd have you twice today.
Okay. Remind me not to follow Simon on the treadmill.
He didn't clean up his face.
April, we had 19, budget of 13, so favorability there. April year-to-date, we're at 61 versus a budget of 39, so 22 new homes favorable. I think right now, preliminarily, we're probably around 13 or 14 for the month of May. So budget kind of stays flat throughout the year at about 13. So we'll you know, continue to watch that, but given the circumstances, that's pretty good. Miscellaneous permit activity slowed a little bit in May, but through April remained strong. As did tank installations. We had 19 tank installations and 61 for year to date. Our water and sewer usage, both on the revenue side as well as the cost of service, we continue to see a little bit heavier water usage, and you'll see that in May as well. As irrigation systems get turned on, and I know in the office we've received quite a few calls lately about water usage, and same with sewer. And part of that has to do with just increased usage from shelter at home. On golf, I'll get into the golf revenue a little bit, but for the operating statistics, on the rounds, we continue to see the month-to-date and year-to-date mix issue between daily and prepaid rounds versus annual rounds. So
That's weird.
what's good is that the daily and prepaid rounds are not drastically below, and I know they're dealing with tee sheet issues and a lot of operational things. So, this time last year, golf really had a hole to dig out of, and this year, it's not so bad. Docks have a little bit of favorability with some open docks. I know in the month of May, that's kind of gone back down. I want to say they're at about 7 open docks. And as boating season kind of kicks in, I think those will take care of themselves. Some favorability, or unfavorability really, on the RV, still have open lots. I know the admin staff continues to work a list of trying to get those leased. And then on rec, I put NA because, for the month of April, we suspended all rec revenue. So you will see that on the revenue in the next page. So here, just the high-level graphic. You'll see for revenue, we were 5,000 favorable to budget year to date. Expenses, and I think this has also been typical year over year, we're underspent to the budget on expenses by a little over $1.1 million. So year to date, our net income is $486,000 versus a budgeted loss of $654,000. So we are $101,140,000 favorable to budget April year to date. Next slide, please. So this is just the regular breakdown of our revenue by source. Obviously, assessment is the bulk of it, but most important through April is a lot of the user fee-based golf, rec, are pretty much holding their line relative to the budget. Next page, please. On the revenue breakdown, these will tie back mostly to the operating statistics I just talked about. Assessments are pretty much right on. Late fees, that's all tied to the lower suspended and delinquent accounts. So as we get favorability there, we record less in late fee revenue. Golf, this is really good news. On the revenue side, even with that mix issue, golf is only $3,000 or $4,000 below budget on pure golf revenue. Golf merchandise, we knew we would take a hit here with the revised protocols at the pro shops. So we had budgeted $66,000 in golf merchandise sales year to date. They have 32 through the month of April. And with the new reopening, I think May and June, a lot of that merchandise sales will kick back in. For rec revenue, the first 3 months, Simon was ahead of the game on rec memberships, both individual and family. With the suspension of rec fees for the month of April, that is exactly $74,000 of an impact. So that full difference is all attributable to the month of April.
We're going to see that again in May, right?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. That is pretty much all. For RV storage, we're short by 9,000, again tied to the leased lot percentage. We're 8,000 short on dock due to a few open slips. And then we made up $4,000 for gas dock revenue with the early start to boating season. So the 13,000 is kind of tied to that. ACC permits is all volume driven, as is the CAF fee. And then food service, here we were favorable, 32,000 year to date. Again, that's all tied to Kahidi and the support that that community is giving the food service out there. Other revenue, we're favorable 26,000 year to date. The biggest driver of other is the property transfer fee, which I referenced in the operating metrics. We're 21,700 above budget just for property transfer fees. So we've had 208 transfers versus a budget of 100. We pick up a little bit of interest income by almost 16,000 related to higher balances in our reserve accounts. And then other, which is a whole host of smaller items that flow through, mostly admin, were unfavorable by 11,000. So a lot of kind of puts and takes on the revenue side, but overall it gets us basically right on budget. Next slide, please. So here's just kind of the graphical representation of kind of where we're at on a trend. Again, that spike on the line is the really the impact of HA5 coming through on the expense side. So, we're kind of taking things cautiously and doing projects as we're able. So you'll see a nice even trend kind of month to date, year to date. Next slide. So here on a breakdown of the year to date expenses through April, like we typically do, we've got some favorability, almost 500,000 due to maintenance projects. Some of the key ones, we have about $50,000 related to the TOQA overlay of the parking lots. We've got some Kahidi carpet replacement that was budgeted to happen in April, and I think that's basically been done in the month of May. We've got on the rec side the therapy pool replastering, the heating pool repair, and as Carla mentioned earlier, that work's all been completed. So you'll see the impact of a lot of the maintenance projects kicking in when I report May in a couple weeks. There's some Chota, Simon had some tennis resurfacing and repair of the tennis courts, which totaled about $16,000. You've got the automated front door at Chota Activity Center for about $9,000. Utilities, they had some repair for road repair for the north end of Chota Road. New street signs, which, as you know, Clayton's busy setting those in concrete and getting the street signs. So again, a lot of these are just timing. Same with food. There's about $108,000 that Mitzi and Andy had identified for some new kitchen equipment at Tokwa, Tanasi, and the Yacht Club. A lot of that is, obviously with COVID-19 has been delayed, and I'll expect that to be picked up as we kind of come out of the next few months. Same with some last bit of maintenance projects. There's about $87,000 on some dock repairs and reconfiguring the fuel dock, and I think that's also been kind of put on hold for now. Moving on, the salary and benefit line, I talked about the open positions. Bad debt, that $104,000 favorable to budget is all tied to the delinquent accounts and managing our collections. A little bit of unfavorability on the legal and professional. Had to call that out, Kevin, on your birthday.
That wasn't considered to be a birthday present for me.
And some of those legal fees are just, tied either to, some of the contract work that Kevin's been working with Winston on for OUB, et cetera. So not too concerned there. Collections, we continue to watch that. That has been a little bit favorable to plan and keep down the bad debt, so that's good. On the operating supply side, we're favorable there. A good portion of that, not the whole $154,000, but a portion of the operating supplies, that favorability is kind of tied to the horticultural supplies. I think with this weather, Chris has used less, expensed less in his horticultural supplies, and the budget had some of the prior year inventory kind of coming through. Utilities are pretty much right on. Yacht Club management fee, a little bit unfavorable. We were doing great up until the month of April, and then April was a tough month for Andy and the Yacht Club. And looking in May, it was a much better month. And given what Andy's relaying on to us, as things open up, that should get better. Depreciation expense, again, that's just due to timing of the capital spend. Water and sewer cost of service, a little bit favorable there. That's kind of a combination of rate and volume, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Tank installations are the volume I talked about. And then pretty much I've got a little bit of favorability on the golf merchandise cost of service, which would tie directly to their unfavorability on the golf merchandise sales. And again, other is kind of a whole host of things. Next slide, please. So here's just the trend for net income. Obviously, being our head above water, budget had us starting. We tend to get a natural lag on some of those jobs whereby, like what we're closing April year to date, there is only one job that was basically at the 2020 deposit rate, because they're all home completions that had been started either 4 months ago or in some cases 8-10 months ago. So there's that natural lag that you'll see between the revenue and the cost, which over time, as that volume continues to grow, will average out. Next slide, please. So this is just a walk basically the same slide as previous, but a walk from the budget for water and sewer down to actual, pulling in most of the rate volume from before. And same on the installed tanks. It'll walk from the budget, revenue, and cost of sales down to actuals. And off on the far right, by Mr. Schneider's head there, you'll see the margin percentages. Thank you, Steve. So the important, those margin percentages are important to note to make sure that we're obviously kind of staying close to where we should be relative to the contribution that we expect that those lines carry. Next slide, please. I won't go too much into this. This is Chris's rounds report. You'll see basically in the bottom on the far right, you'll see where member rounds are down 836 rounds, 190 on the 9-hole, down 1,300 on prepaids, and then almost 2,600 favorable on the annual member rounds after 2. So the courses are definitely getting a lot of play, and I think the Golf Advisory Committee is starting early, which is positive, to look at ways to kind of manage or budget for next year. So
I'm also seeing something else in here I've never seen before, and I think I saw it beginning in March report. I'm seeing it again in April. It's going to be real interesting to see if this becomes a trend. 2 is not a trend, right?
that's true.
Okay. Tokwa historically has been the golf course. You want to play, it's hard to get on Tokwa, premium course. Tee times fill up, stays full. And a lot of that is because most of the population is centered around there. Tanasi is the second, and Kahidi has always been the far third. I'm looking at this comparison, April 2020 to prior year. Kahidi is up 631 rounds. Tanasi is up 606, and Toka's only up 249. So if you think why, you start thinking, okay, you look at the ACC reports, the number of homes that have been going into Kahidi has been huge for the last 3 years. You just put in a new community center, you put in a new portico. Holy cow, I mean, what an opportunity you have. That is one of the first times, and again, it's only twice, that I've seen Kahidi outrunning either Toka or Tanasi in terms of rounds. Phenomenal. And it speaks highly to what you whispered to me a minute ago, and that was, okay, go ahead, tell me.
It goes to the people down in Kahidi promoting things, Tom McPhee. Those guys really work hard at it. They promised us they would. You remember we were talking about 3 years sitting here, we were thinking about closing the restaurant there, and we challenged the folks down there to get behind it, and I think they've answered the mail.
Yeah, they clearly stepped up.
And I think that the staff at the Kahidi Pub, they really, really work hard to take good care of us. They call us by name when we come in. They remember what we like to eat and drink, and they
to make sure that writing percentage stays high. Any questions on the basic financials before I hand it over to Parker to talk about the CFO activities?
Yeah, Steve.
Quick question, Kevin. The 2020 budget and the 5-year plan budgets for cash flows or the balance sheets, are those completed yet, or have I missed it?
No, Steve, I believe Parker's in the process of reviewing those and finalizing those. We talked about that the other day. He's well aware that that's still on our to-do.
Okay, so I didn't miss it.
He did not miss it.
Other questions
Okay.
for Kevin? Okay, thank you, Kevin.
Thanks.
Next victim.
want to follow somebody, this microphone, Kevin's the guy you want to follow. He does a great job of sanitizing. This is kind of an unusual reporting out for finance, given that the May meeting was canceled, and so we're kind of reporting back into April and looking ahead into May, and we don't have May financials yet, so this is a little unusual. And normally, I would give the CFO's report on current activities, but we've really pretty well already covered those with the completion of the audit, approval of the audited financial statements, comments around COVID-19 adjustments, and that sort of thing.
Hold the microphone up closer.
Oh, I thought it was pretty close, okay. And to answer Mr. Schneider's question about the balance sheet, yes, that is in process, but I did need to wait until we had the final audited financial statements, balance sheets, because that's my jumping off point for projections forward. And not only that, but as Steve is well aware, the 2018 balance sheets were adjusted based on the new revenue recognition standards. So you have to kind of wait until you get to the end of that process before you can go projecting forward. You got to know where you're starting from, and so that's part of the reason for that delay. But absolutely still in the plan and on my to-do list. So that said, we've got two capital project funding requests that are being presented for your consideration today. The first is for a rough mower at Tenasseee Golf Club. Wells McClure, the manager of Tenasseee Golf Maintenance. It was budgeted at $75,000, coming in just shy of that at $72,345 from unrestricted operating cash. Finance Advisory Committee reviewed this at their May meeting and approved it or recommended it for approval by the board. This is a replacement rough mower for Toro 4700, 10 years old, over 45,000 hours, and I'm told that's the equivalent of over 400,000 miles. If it were a car, it would be pretty well past its useful life. The proposed replacement is a little unique. It's different from the Toro 4700 machine that it replaces, in that the recommendation is to replace it with a tractor and a pull-behind Trimax Snake that does a really good job of cutting rough, and it's maneuverable, it's less expensive. The golf maintenance guys have tested this equipment out and deemed that they like it and they like the job that it does. It's not the low bid. You'll notice that Wood's equipment for the Kubota tractor and the Groundsmaster pull behind is a little bit less expensive, but I think it was the Trimax Snake and I think that's the John Deere from Greenville Turf, the tractor. And anyway, the combination of those two they felt was the better value. For comparison purposes, $94,000 is what the Toro 4700 would cost if we replaced it with like kind today. So the request for the board is capital project approval, $72,345 with funding from unrestricted operating cash. And I think Chris Sykes is online via Zoom to help with detailed or technical questions.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve funding from unrestricted operating cash of $72,345 for the purchase of a rough mower for the Tenasseee golf operation?
Well, Steve's hand was up. I don't know if he's approving or not.
Are you making the motion, Steve?
Yes, I am.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second discussion.
Yeah, I saw your hand, but I'm jumping
He
ahead.
was first.
He was?
Yes.
Okay, Bruce, go ahead. Okay, since you defer. And I hope Chris is on to support this.
I am.
I remember this last year. Did we not, Chris, buy this John Deere and Trimax Snake last year?
We got a comparable setup for Kahiti last year.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
And as I recall, the cost savings, as you're showing here, were $20,000 last year, and you were expecting a great improvement and whatever the word I'm looking for, diversity among using the tractor and the mower together. Have you found that to be the case in the year that you've operated this?
Yes, sir, we have, because our tractors are all over 20 years old. So this combination, this approach with the improvement with the pull behind technology affords us a tractor to use for other activities in the off season, in the winter months.
Okay, thanks. That's what I want to hear.
Bruce?
I want to go back to why we're not picking the low bid there. Is it
$655. Since it was not budgeted, it also was not, it is proposed, if approved, to be funded from the amenity reserve. There's over $140,000, probably close to $150 by the end of May, in the amenity reserve, and it seems to be a reasonable place to provide funding for this if you choose to approve the project. And there's nothing else waiting in the wing to lay claim or advisory committee reviewed and approved it at their May meeting. And there is some offsetting budget money available. There was $65,000 of utility vehicles budgeted in all of golf for 2020. But Mr. Sykes tells me that he is not going to require all of that money, and so that would be one way he can stay within his overall capital plan with that utility vehicle offsets. The TrackMan is relatively portable. It can be shared among all three courses. Provides a really attractive internal rate of return, quick payback, and but it is single sourced. There's only that's due to the proprietary nature of the software for this particular setup. There may be other simulators out there on the market, but this is the one that the golf guys are recommending. So the request formally to the board is capital approval of $30,655 with funding from the amenity reserve fund, and that is the recommendation that the Finance Advisory Committee made to the board.
Okay. I need a motion to approve funding from the amenity reserve of $30,655 for the purchase of a TrackMan golf simulator for golf operations.
Motion to approve.
Second? Second. Got a second? Discussion? Yes.
we went and looked at this up at
Kingsport.
Yeah, thanks. We went and looked at this Kingsport. The biggest idea behind that was to use this kind of capability to promote interest in golf, bring people in. I would propose that we need to, not in addition to acquiring this for the reasons stated under project description, and because of the fact that they're saying that it is relatively portable, I would propose that we look at this in stages. This would be in stage one. Second stage would be get the necessary equipment, maybe next year or whenever, that we could use this, move it over into, say, like the pavilion, to use it on occasions like they showed us up at Kingsport, where, you know, groups could use this, rent it or whatever, to help us promote interest in golf, you know. And I think, off the top of the pad, there's some equipment that we would need in addition to this, screens and things of that nature. But if we're gonna go do this, we ought to do what we thought about doing when we went and looked at this, is not only use it for demo days and fit-ins and things of that nature, but also use it to help.
On a temporary basis, and again, this is portable. So rather than getting into the full gamut of what we saw in Kingsport with the party room and the food and all that stuff, the putting green, instead of doing all that, we can, as Bruce said, you can go into it in stages.
Chris, where do you say?
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Just a second.
Chris Sachs, can you hear us now?
A little bit.
Okay, good.
So Chris, I need to understand how this will actually work in practice. Where would you set it up and how would it be used? It's not like what we saw in Kingsport, right?
Correct. It's actually step one towards, the facility you saw in Kingsport. It opens up endless possibilities. It's really the most exciting thing to come in the golf realm in some time. And early on, as we started working together as a new golf management team, we identified this as the number one priority and what can have the single biggest impact to our golfing community because of its versatility. So, immediately it's going to be used pretty much nonstop for fittings, demo days. It's going to lead to merchandise sales, which goes back to the POA now. We're going to be able to use it, which we already have. Not much additional expense to. It's incredibly versatile. Will have an immediate positive impact on golf and the bottom line.
Okay.
Chris, you were off. We asked the question like, how much more additional investment are we looking, maybe not this year, but next year, to bring this up to a capability, not including a building, but what do you?
To have the simulator capacity, you can do that outdoors now. The TrackMan itself with the laptop computer and the software package that is part of this proposal would enable you to do that outdoors and hit down the range. The screen itself is fairly inexpensive. We have the mat, so that would not really require any additional capital outlay to make that happen. And we're still working on a business plan for a long-term facility, standalone facility, and we have some ideas for where to best locate that as well. So we're working on that business plan for future capital purposes and budgeting. But again, this opens a whole new realm for golf and the things that we can do for our members and guests.
Chris, I got another question.
Yes, sir.
In the proposal, the hardware maintenance plan and software subscription for the first year is included. I assume that means that after the first year, those are something we pay for. How much are we paying a year after that?
No, there's no additional expense once you purchase the equipment.
And the other thing you said, portion of utility vehicles that are currently budgeted for golf for this year.
Yes, sir.
So are these vehicles out, or are they just being deferred into another budget year?
They're being deferred, to be quite honest, Rick. We weren't afforded a whole lot of dialogue with respect to the budgeting process in the past couple of years, most notably. And the 5-year plan, there's a lot of placeholders. So immediately when we started to reorganize as a new golf management team, we circled back to more clearly identify our priorities moving forward. So we'll be making some adjustments moving forward, and this was the first thing on our list that we felt like was the number one priority for golf for 2020.
I don't have any more questions. Anybody else got any more questions? Steve?
Hey, Chris, this is Steve.
Yes, sir.
So you do not get a screen with this request, correct?
Correct, but a screen is nominal. I mean, it's not going to cost much money to get a portable screen.
Yeah,
Okay.
The next biggest expense is a projector then?
Correct. But you could use, any data projector. I mean, we could probably, and I've got that data somewhere. I can't pull it up while we're doing this video via Zoom. But, for the full-blown standalone simulator facility, TrackMan can provide all that. But, our vendor has been open and honest with us. And, hey, there's a homemade version to go about doing this. You can buy these, the screen and the projector and some of those items on your own and save, lots of money. So, we would be able to have the capacity to do something under pavilion pretty inexpensively. But again, we can immediately do simulations outdoors, hitting balls out on the range to service as a simulator.
Okay, and then you said there's no annual maintenance fee on the software. So when the software has a new version, that you get that for free?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then it sounds like the next thing you need besides the building was the screen and projector.
Yes, sir.
And ballpark, is that like 20,000 or is that like 5,000? How big's that number?
Yeah, I'd say it's less than 5.
And is there a reason why you didn't put that in this request?
This was step one. So this is step one towards opening up all kinds of possibilities with respect to where we can take this. So this is what we want to get first and foremost. And once we get this on site, well, then it's going to open up a new world for us.
So after you get some experience, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility you come back later this year and say, I want to go to get another $5,000 to get the screen and the projector.
We hope so.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Questions? Okay.
If there are no other board questions, we do have a question from some property owner who's watching online.
Okay.
He asks the calculation for the return on investment. How is that? What's behind that?
Well, that's pretty expansive. I don't know if you guys have a copy of it or not, but I have one in front of me. And the 2.2 years is really a conservative return on the investment, considering the state of the game and how popular golf is right now, and so many people coming out of the woodworks, folks that are getting reintroduced to the game, some beginner types. There's a tremendous opportunity for club sales, which again, all those sales go back to the POA now, whereas historically they went to West Golf Services. So the fitting aspect and driving a highest yielding merchandise item, which is hard goods and golf clubs, that return on investment is going to be well within 2 years, if not somewhere closer to a year.
Okay, and one more thing from me, Chris. I would love to get with you. I had talked with Jim about this previously and a couple of the golf pros regarding exploring some ideas for private funding through Timeless Teleco. So I think it'd be good to have that conversation going forward for the rest of this project, phases 2 and 3.
Yes, ma'am.
Other questions?
Steve.
Just one other point, Chris. Your payback at 2.2 years assumes 100% payback. There's no residual value on the equipment. So worst case scenario, you spend $31,000. You find out it's not working. This equipment's got used equipment value on the open market, does it not?
It sure does.
Yeah.
So in reality, that 2.2 years, as you said, on a real payback with residual value, it's a quick return.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor? You voting, Bruce?
Yeah, I used to read.
7-0.
We already had 6.
Thank you for your support.
Okay.
From management up through Winston on both of those projects. And, and the Golf Advisory Committee reviewed and approved this as well as Finance Committee. So you can check those boxes as well. Okay, moving on then to the capital summary. This is where we are through today's board meeting, and it includes the rough mower and the golf simulator, the two projects down toward the bottom of the list. With those included, we are now just slightly in the red or over budget for projects approved to date. We've approved about 24% of the 2020 capital plan, roughly 1% over budget for those projects approved to date, and you see the list there in front of you. That then feeds over to the next slide, which is the check on cash flows. And as you might imagine, with through the end of April operations, a $1.1 million favorable variance on net income. Admittedly, we're going to lose some of that in the month of June probably as the HA5 work comes through, but still off to a very good start for the year, not having to dig out of a hole. In fact, if anything, we might have built up a little bit of a cushion through this time of the year. So depreciation's running a little bit less than budget because of timing primarily, and an intentional desire to defer some of these capital projects until later in the year and give us time for the COVID-19 impact to clarify. And then CapEx, like I say, 1% over budget to date through that. So cash is in excellent shape through this part of the year. We'll speak more to that in the June 17th, I guess it will be, board meeting, once we get, end of May financials. So questions on any of this?
Any other questions for Parker? Parker, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That brings us to Asian carp. Carla, you're up.
Alrighty, we had another question from a property owner regarding that lawn mowing equipment, and his name is Steve McCormick. And Steve, I'm going to have Chris Sykes send you an email because I'm not exactly sure what you're asking or if we can answer it here today, but we will get an answer to your question. So moving on to Asian carp. The Watts Bar Ecology and Fishery Council has taken the lead in the efforts to keep Asian carp out of the Upper Tennessee River Basin. The POA Asian Carp Committee and the Tellico Village Fishing Club support its members in finding solutions and in keeping consistent pressure on elected officials and government agencies to prevent carp migration. Tellico Lake is an amazing asset to East Tennessee, and keeping out this invasive species is a high priority for those of us who live and play in this area. We are very thankful for the efforts of the WBEFC and their partner organizations who continue to keep this issue in the forefront at the local, state, and federal levels. Keith Sanders.
Now we're into other. There are any others from the board? Nope. Do we have anything coming in from outside? Questions or other concerns? Well,
Are
do
we
I have a
sure?
motion to?
Are we sure?
I move.
One more time?
I'll ask one more time, are there other people outside that have been watching this that have other issues they wish to raise?
Nobody
The answer is no. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
He did second.
That's what I told you. No, there were 5 seconds over there. You couldn't see because